They're literally trying to rewrite history. Like, they want us to forget that Yahoo and Routers and the Associated Press and all these mainstream media companies were all colluding with the DNC. They were in on it. They were trying to get Hillary Clinton elected. They helped her fix the debates against Bernie Sanders. Like, they were part of this whole thing, and they got called out. So when Yahoo News gets called out by WikiLeaks, and we learn that journalists working for Yahoo News were colluding with the Democrats, they were absolutely 100% colluding. We have the evidence. It's on WikiLeaks. Like, we know this. This is a fact. Like, this is from their own DNC emails that they were colluding with these journalists. And now these journalists go and launch a new podcast called Conspiracy Land and debunk the Seth Rich investigation 3 years later as Russian propaganda because one person read some shit because they were able to see some, like, you know, Russian memo. Like, what? Like, okay, you didn't address the actual issue at hand. The actual issue at hand is Julian Assange. The article just claims that he falsely claimed that, but there's no evidence that he falsely claimed that. Where's the evidence? The article has literally no evidence. It's all based on hearsay from this one person. That's it. I don't really know how to start this podcast. So I just got an email that an article I had written in May of 2017 about the Seth Rich story from the 2016 election cycle has just been removed from medium.com. So I wrote this because there was a number of conspiracies and crazy things going on around the Seth Rich murder investigation. And the thing that I found most fascinating about the whole Seth Rich story was the fact that there was this theory that Seth Rich is the WikiLeaks leaker who provided the DNC with their emails. You know, there's obviously the counter theory that it was Russian agents or whatever. And the fact of the matter is Julian Assange has been arrested. He's in a UK detention facility. He's not confessed. We still don't know who the source was. The Mueller investigation seems to conclude that it was Russia, but maybe not, and didn't really provide any real evidence. Now, a story today was run on Yahoo News that stated that Seth Rich was, you know, just killed by some like gangbangers or druggie dealers or whatever. And someone close to the investigation is claiming, you know, it had nothing to do with Russia and that was a Russian propaganda story. And they had some security clearance and read some articles that claims that, you know, Russia was pushing the story. Well, great. Like, we know Russia was interfering with the 2016 election. Yes, they had some Twitter bots and they tweeted some things and they did a couple things to try and influence the election. It was less than what Google did. It was less than what the mainstream media did. It was less than the actions of, you know, our own institutions within this country. I mean, it's less than what Google did in fixing their search results in favor of Hillary Clinton. So yeah, I don't like that another country, a foreign country, interfered with a American election. Like, that pisses me off to some degree, you know, well, to a significant degree, really. But it also pisses me off that our own corporations, our own media, and our own companies and our tech companies are actively right now trying to censor the upcoming 2020 election. And we have proof that they were censoring and interfering with the 2016 election because of WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks straight up showed that Yahoo News, journalists for Yahoo News were implicated by WikiLeaks as being a part of the conspiracy of the DNC to fix the election for Hillary Clinton to try to get her elected. Like, Yahoo News was guilty and was implicated. So when Yahoo News runs a story 3 years later telling me that, oh, you know, Seth Rich, well, nothing to see here. That's just, you know, that was just drug dealers and we'll catch them eventually, even though they have no new leads. There's no new information about the case. And there's absolutely nothing that proves any of the claims in the article that they just published, that other than they claim they got access to some intel that was classified or whatever, that they didn't actually release. So it's a nothing burger. It's literally a nothing burger. There is nothing in the Yahoo article or their podcast that actually like adds anything new to the story. Like, the story is still bizarre. This is actually just another weird wrinkle in the whole Seth Rich situation. I can't explain this. Like, the reason why I wrote the article that I wrote, which I will be republishing and possibly editing slightly and updating or whatever, but, you know, I wrote it because I was talking about the different narratives and how the mainstream media handles situations like this. And I was talking about how Fox News ran their story and how there's this crazy timeline of events and how there's all this information and all these things that don't add up. Like, if anything, my article has more proof of possible Russian collusion, or at least foreign collusion, or someone, you know, conspiring to spread this information and whatever, than anything that was in the Yahoo story. If anything, you could derive more information from my I collected news sources and links, and I broke down timelines. Like, I went into a lot of detail. I worked on that article for quite a while. And there's a ton of information in there that Yahoo didn't mention. Like, some of it would actually support the claims they're making, but they didn't mention any of this stuff. So Medium deleted it. It's gone. It is no longer on Medium. It's off Medium. Not only did they delete the actual story itself, but they deleted many of my responses when I was arguing with people who were questioning me and some of the evidence. So I can't even have a conversation about Seth Rich apparently on Medium. Like, even if I were to just simply interact and answer questions and talk about some of the things that I found in my own research, those posts are now deleted as well. So I don't know what the hell to tell anyone. Like, this is straight up censorship. Medium just censored me on the anniversary of the Seth Rich, murder 3 years later, the same day Yahoo runs this crazy story. And like, I mean, they're one of the news organizations who is implicated in WikiLeaks. So I do not know if Seth Rich was involved in WikiLeaks. Maybe his murder was a total coincidence. I have no idea. But the way that the media is behaving around this, the fact that they are spending so much time and energy trying to debunk this is just insane. Like, and the fact that this article came out less than 24 hours after Epstein was arrested again because of Mike Soronovich and his lawsuit is just even more crazy, because this has been trending all day and the social media companies are letting it trend, and there's nothing about Epstein anymore. So this is straight out of the Podesta and Clinton playbook to run a distraction campaign whenever something happens in the mainstream media that they want to get away from. So Bill Clinton was good friends with Epstein, went to his island, had been on his plane dozens of times, like, is directly connected to a sex trafficker who was trafficking women and children. Like, this is a major freaking news story, and nobody's talking about it because now we're all talking about this stupid Seth Rich story that Yahoo published, which is just complete and total nonsense. Like, I wish there was something in that article that Yahoo had published. I wish there was one piece of evidence or something that I could point to and be like, aha, finally, we know the truth about Seth Rich. But there's nothing. It's complete and total nonsense. I have not listened to their whole 30-minute podcast about it. I just read the article after my article was deleted from Medium. And I'm just like, what? Like, where, like, they talk to one person who claims that this or what, and they have nothing. Like, they have no leads, they have nothing. They literally have nothing, and they're basing this on the fact that some Russian news organizations and, possibly the Russian government, put some kind of, like, memo out at some point 3 days after this happened. But that's not the story. That's not the story at all. The story is Julian Assange himself alluded to Seth Rich as being the leaker. That is the story. Julian Assange is the story. Julian Assange referencing Seth Rich is the story. That's where this whole thing came from. It didn't come from Russia. It came from Julian Assange in August. The story didn't take off until August. So I don't know, like, what I don't know. They're trying to rewrite history, and they're trying to delete anything on the internet that has any information about the timeline of events and links to these stories. And they went after me. Like, why they went after my article 2 years after I published it, like, this is not a violation of any of Medium's terms of services. There was nothing in my article that would, like, even towed the line. Like, it was just, like, I'm like I said, I'm going to repost the article on Tech Post. You can go read it. Like, there's nothing there. I was just analyzing the media's reaction to this thing. Did I use, maybe kind of a deceptive title? Sure, I might update it, whatever. I might add a question mark. Does that make it better? If I add a question mark to the title, does that change something? I don't know. The fact of the matter is, I don't know what happened with Seth Rich. I know that the whole situation needs to be investigated further. And I know that the whole thing got politically convoluted. And is it possible that Russia was running with some of these articles and some stories and pushing this narrative and that narrative? Sure, probably. I don't know, and I don't care. But that's not the real story. The real story is Julian Assange, who's currently sitting in jail. Like, he's in a detention center. He hasn't been seen by the public. He hasn't been able to defend himself. Like, the rumors or conspiracies or whatever the hell you want to call them, or that he's been drugged and tortured. Like, that's the reality of Julian Assange in this situation now. Like, we don't know. So Julian Assange, I mean, I wish he would just come out and say something. I wish Dotcom would say something, as he claims that he had evidence and was never contacted by Mueller or his team or anyone. So I tweeted at him just before I recorded this, like, we'll see if he responds to me. But I don't know. There's some evidence that Seth Rich was possibly involved in WikiLeaks and could have been a whistleblower. There is a little bit of evidence that could suggest that. I don't know if that evidence is coincidental. I don't know if there's something to it. I don't know if it's accurate or not. I don't know. The reason I wrote my article is because I don't know what the hell is going on. And the article that was published today on Yahoo doesn't clarify anything. There's nothing new in it. So as you can tell, like, I'm a little pissed off about this. Like, I don't like having my articles deleted and suspended from freaking Medium. I knew Medium was going to come after me at some point. Like, I've already faced censorship and some crazy shit this year, and as well as my health stuff. But this is just like blatant censorship, because this was just literally a collection of different news articles talking about how the media works and how we can't trust Yahoo News or any of the people who are implicated in WikiLeaks in a story about WikiLeaks. That's the crazy thing here, is like, they're literally trying to rewrite history. Like, they want us to forget that Yahoo and Routers and the Associated Press and all these mainstream media companies were all colluding with the DNC. They were in on it. They were trying to get Hillary Clinton elected. They helped her fix the debates against Bernie Sanders. Like, they were part of this whole thing, and they got called out. So when Yahoo News gets called out by WikiLeaks, and we learn that journalists working for Yahoo News were colluding with the Democrats, they were absolutely 100% colluding. We have the evidence. It's on WikiLeaks. Like, we know this. This is a fact. Like, this is from their own DNC emails that they were colluding with these journalists. And now these journalists go and launch a new podcast called Conspiracy Land and debunk the Seth Rich investigation 3 years later as Russian propaganda, because one person read some shit because they were able to see some, like, Russian memo. Like, what? Like, okay, you didn't address the actual issue at hand. The actual issue at hand is Julian Assange. The article just claims that he falsely claimed that, but there's no evidence that he falsely claimed that. Where's the evidence? The article has literally no evidence. It's all based on hearsay from this one person. That's it. It's just another bizarre, weird mainstream media news story around the Seth Rich investigation that didn't present any new information or facts that actually changed anything. It's just another weird, bizarre thing. Like, they're literally trying to rewrite history about what happened with WikiLeaks, including their own involvement in colluding with the DNC. This is insane to me. And now Medium's in on it. I mean, I'm sure someone, because this is trending on Twitter right now, because this is all happening right now, like, I'm sure someone Googled this, saw my Medium article, and flagged it and reported it to Medium, and they sat around and read my replies and blah, 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 and then we're like, whoa, we got to delete this guy. Like, that's what happened. Like, I just got censored. So why I'm being censored because Yahoo published this story today, I have no freaking clue. It doesn't change my article. It doesn't change anything that I published 2 years ago. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I could update the article, but that's it. Like, there's nothing else to this. So I'm pissed. This whole thing's bullshit. Like, fuck Medium. Like, I can't stand that company. I can't stand any of these social media companies that are censoring us. I'm sure this video is going to get flagged and whatever, and who knows if anyone will even see this. But god damn it. Like, I don't know what the hell is wrong with people. Like, and I don't know what the hell is wrong with Silicon Valley that they think they have a right to go after my freedom of speech and just to simply talk about this. Like, fuck them. Thanks for watching another uncensored episode of TechPost.io. I'm your host, Trent Lipinski, and don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and hit that little notification bell next to the subscribe button so that you can get notified when we release new episodes. You can also find us on iTunes, Google Play, and other social networks, including Twitter and Facebook, at TechPost.io, and you can find me personally at Trent Lipinski. Once again, I'm Trent Lipinski, and this has been another great episode of TechPost.io. We'll see you soon.